Cambridge Dictionary defines hope as the following: to want something to happen or to be true, and to usually have a good reason to think that it might. In this definition, hope is a verb, an action. As such, hope is a choice and can be developed into a discipline. This is what abolitionist and American activist Mariame Kaba says in her interview, Hope is a Discipline. She says hope does not preclude any emotion, happiness, sadness, anger, frustration, or any other emotion that makes any kind of sense. No, she says it is a practice. And this was weird to me. Like, how do you practice hope? Practicing can't mean that I wake up every day with joy in my heart, or that enthusiastic greeting to my neighbors will cure the tragedies of the world. How is it that hope, something that is defined by change, how can that be practiced? Well, Kaba tells us a story. She tells us of this time she was talking to this nun. Now, this nun, she was considering her place in the world. She was talking to Kaba about being present in the world, and she said it was really, really important for us to live in and be in the world. And then she says that she practiced a grounded type of hope every single day, and that everyone did it whether or not they meant to. Now, Kaba, she goes on to say that she bowed down to that, that it was a way of life, a philosophy of living in the face of a world that produces such hopelessness, such a strong feeling that nothing is ever going to change and that pain, sorrow, and evil are just facts of this world. Kaba says that in the face of all of that, she chooses hope, both her and this nun. Which was funny to me, because then she goes on to say that she hates people and that, she was the antisocial type to deny any invite that found its way under her door. And I laughed because I found it relatable. But then she references Jim Wallace, who gives us what I believe is a life-changing definition of hope. He says hope is believing in spite of the evidence and watching the evidence change. And you know what? History proves him right. I mean, things happen that no rational person ever thought could. The Berlin Wall fell. American slaves ripped freedom from America's hands. MLK Jr. spoke in front of thousands. Arabs rejected their dictators in the Arab Spring. They took song to the streets. Yet, it seems irresponsible for me to not acknowledge where all of those people are now. The future is bleak. There's no denying that. ICE agents are abducting people from the streets. Palestinians are being bombed in theirs. Sudan's murder can be seen from the stars, and the schism between the bottom class and the rich just seem to be widening, all while the sun shows us the harsh bounds of our own industrialization. The evidence really isn't in humanity's favor, pragmatically or metaphorically. I won't blame you if you've lost hope. If hope is meant to be a solution to this, are we meant to smile in the face of the horrid? Are we meant to simply believe that tomorrow the day will become a little easier? Are we meant to ignore and leave it in the hands of greater society? Are we meant to believe that our hopes and prayers will be the fuel to the greater good engine? Kaba, in her interview, references Frederick Douglass. He, among many things, was a loud advocate for war as a path towards freedom for the American slave. And again, it turns out that 600,000 deaths later, in the post-Civil War era, he was proven right. I don't think Frederick Douglass was a particularly optimistic person. He was born a slave and bore the pain and scars that came with it. You can hear it in his writings and speeches. He had decades of rage pent up, moral fury that fueled his words. Historians point to his anger as strategic, that no white man would hear a black one without anger. All of this to say, Kaba tells us hope is not optimism. Rather, it is the choice to see all of the bad, to accept death and shame, and to believe with an unyielding faith that change can happen. It's meant to be hard. But part of that choice is understanding that we are a small part of a much greater clock. that the tidal waves of history are created by the tiny ripples of individual action, that the story is defined by us today. Beyond that, hope is a fuel.
This holds also for man, I would say. If we take man as he really is, we make him worse. But if we overestimate him, it's premature, your applause, you will soon know why. If we seem to be idealists and are overestimating, overrating man, and looking at him that high, here above, you know what happens? We promote him to what he really can be. So we have to be idealists in a way, because then we'll wind up as the true, the real realists. And you know who has said this? If we take man as he is, we make him worse. But if we take man as he should be, we make him capable of becoming what he can be. This was not my flight instructor, this was not me, this was Goethe. He said this verbally. And now you will understand why I, in one of my writings, once said, this is the most apt maxim and motto for any psychotherapeutic activity. So if you don't recognize a young man's will to meaning, man's search for meaning, you make him worse, you make him dull, you make him frustrated, you still add and contribute to his frustration.
That was Austrian neurologist and Holocaust survivor Viktor E. Frankl. He's the author of Man's Search for Meaning, one of the most influential novels when it comes to finding meaning in recent history. In this novel, he attributes hope as one of the main factors of survival in Auschwitz. He depicts that a person who ate their last piece of bread in quiet acceptance of their death often precluded their own death. Frankl says to us that if we accept our deaths, then surely we will die, if not physically, then spiritually. This sentiment is shared by another author, Rifat al-Hariri, a Palestinian English professor who produced and collected a number of stories and poems. In his writing, he emphasizes the importance of stories. He says stories are resistance. It is the refusal of death in the face of it. And it is a practice of hope. He recounts students in Gaza who were feared into the stifling of their own writings. And he presents this to us as one of the greatest tragedies of Palestine. Writers who killed their own stories before the violence ever got a chance to. I would like to play you one of his most popular poems, If I Must Die, read by Brian Cox.
If I must die, you must live to tell my story, to sell my things, to buy a piece of cloth and some strings. Make it white with a long tail, so that a child somewhere in Gaza, while looking heaven in the eye, awaiting his dad who left in a blaze and bid no one farewell, not even to his flesh, not even to himself, sees the kite, my kite you made, flying up above, and thinks for a moment an angel is there, bringing back love. If I must die, let it bring hope. Let it be a tale.
On December 6, 2023, al-Hariri was murdered in an Israeli airstrike, along with his brother, sister, and 4 of his nephews. Hope seems a fickle thing in the face of violence. I won't deny that. But in the tragedies that come, I wish for each of us to make the choice to aim higher, expect more, and write. In the honor of that, I've decided to record my own parents' stories and their thoughts on hope. Enjoy.
Hope is about a person's capacity for change. And so the story that I want to share with you is I was raised a racist by racists. My parents were racists. And when I was your age, I was really mad about that. And it wasn't until I got older and I realized that they were just people that were raised by racist parents who were probably raised by racist parents, before that. So this is really about a generational inheritance. And so, as you know, like my parents came to America as Taiwanese immigrants, seeking out the American dream. And so for them, it was really important to aspire towards whiteness. And that's how I was raised, really about admiring and aspiring to white privilege. That logic did not lead to great places. And after I was in college and then actually went to business school, I had a faith crisis, and I thought, okay, there's got to be more to life than just, seeking after money and a great job and privilege. And so for me, I was always, I think, a truth seeker. And for me, it manifested through a search for faith and God, and actually something, I really wanted a life that was more beautiful, clean, intuitive, full of justice and equality, and so for me it manifested, as becoming a Muslim, right, when I was 27. So I was a little bit older than you. But what really resonated for me was the notion that every human being is equal, and that's a really fundamental, tenet of the faith.
For me, hope is a moral attainment. It's an ethical, not an imperative, but an ethical journey, an ethical struggle, because one way that morality and what is right, things like justice, die is if you stop having hope. The way a lot of people become apathetic and amoral, where they stop caring, is because they accept the status quo, they accept the situation as it is, and they think that it can never be better, and it will never be better. And so that's how apathy sets in. That's how surrender to what is wrong and what is evil sets in. I mean, put it this way, if the devil has a great friend in this world, it would be despair. Because despair is the path to the devil. And I think the opposite is true. Hope is God's tool, or it's how you aspire for godliness, for something other than the status quo, other than what is dark and static. And so hope is ultimately an endeavor. It's something that you work for and you struggle to hold on to at all cost.
Hope is about showing up and trying to bring goodness to the world. Everything ties to helping others, being good, leaving a positive impact. I mean, it's all the stuff that we know intuitively about being good. And so hope comes when, you yourself can affect that kind of change, small, big, whatever. And I think that the work that we do, like at our nonprofit, or for me personally, I think what's so important about the work we do is that it starts with that individual empowerment.
In many ways, I'm a pragmatist, but also in many ways, I'm a dreamer. So I recognize, I'm a pragmatist in the sense that I recognize what is possible in my day and what is possible tomorrow in the more limited sense. But I'm a dreamer in that what keeps driving me to keep striving, and what drives me to keep trying, and what drives me to keep struggling, is hope. Is that the conviction in hope, the belief in hope. It's scary if you lose it, because then you find yourself slipping into just darkness and an effective social death. That's always the result of the loss of hope. You know, do I believe that we will ever attain a utopia? No, I don't believe in utopias. But do I believe that things can be better, and things must be better, and things should be better, and that it is absolutely fatal to accept what's wrong as a foregone conclusion? Absolutely. It's the most dangerous thing in the world.
And what we're told in our tradition is that, you know, there are certain things that, I mean, one, that goodness will always win over evil. We may not see it in our time, but ultimately, when all is said and done, that is true, because God is more powerful than anything. You know, God will defeat evil. But that doesn't necessarily mean that our life is going to be easy, you know, or that we will see it. So, for example, look at the people in Palestine. They're absolutely devastated, killed and genocided. But the thing that I think that has been really striking in our world is seeing how unbelievably faithful they are, right? Like how they hang on to their belief in God, and it's so impressive and so inspiring and like mind-blowing. And it's because you realize that this life, you know, we're all going to die. This life will end. It's a test, and the life to come will depend on how we were in this life.
As an immigrant, because I came to the U.S. in my early 20s, and my whole life story has been a struggle. Nothing ever came easy to me. As an immigrant and as someone who's not white, and you know, I always had to fight to prove myself, from the first days of college to law school to the doctorate to, you know, everything I've done in my life. It has. And if I would have thought of the odds rationally when I was 18 years old, I would have given up. Because if I would have sat there and just thought in a very rational, practical way, it was insanity to try what I tried, to end up being a law professor from a kid who was coming from Egypt, not from a prep school, not from any type of special privilege. You know, a lot of people before I came to the U.S., you know, tell me, you'll never get a scholarship to study in the U.S. No one ever gets a scholarship. Oh, you know, even if you get blah, 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 you'll never do this, you'll never do that. And in terms of practical insight, they're absolutely right. But I've never accepted, and I think a lot of people, you know, get defeated by pragmatism, because they just don't try and they just give up. I've received during this journey so much advice that basically would tell me don't try. There's really no path forward, just don't try. And I've never accepted any of this advice. I would always listen to it, and I would keep marching on. you know, the dreamer part of me is sort of feels vindicated. It's like, yeah, that's what. But the part of the pragmatist part of me is often surprised at how much I've refused to give up, and I think it's still, you know, you don't really you don't give up, or you shouldn't give up until you die. That's the point where it just, but as long as I'm breathing, I always have some project or another. I always have some dream or another. I always have something I'm working towards. You know, I never. Interesting thing, like I always thought that if I ever lost hope, I would stop reading. And the reason I continue reading is because I always have hope that learning, knowledge can yield something. You know, that if I only learn more, I can be better, I can do better. And that passion is what has driven my whole life philosophy.
That's cool. Okay, I think that's good.
Cool.
Before this video is over, I want to make this last point to you. The loss of hope is not a personal failure, for it was never a personal endeavor. Your community, your loved ones, your people, your faith, these are the things and ones that bring hope to you. But hope is a moral responsibility, as my Baba put it. So please go out and find your own stories of hope in these dark times. There's no shortage of tragedies in this world, but the stories of hope shine like beacons. Indigenous peoples, Rwandans, Ukrainians, Uyghurs, and the Rohingyas. If you look, I'm more than sure that you will find some stories of hope. This was not the beginning nor the end of my thoughts on hope, but this is the video. So thank you for watching.